How's it going today? It's Tom Steve. Once again, we're doing a street interview. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and I'm here with
Pine Irwin with Idaho 5051.
Pine Irwin?
Yep, like the tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
With Idaho 5051. What is
Yep.
that?
Idaho 5051 is a grassroots organization. We're based on the idea of protecting and preserving democracy and fighting an authoritarian creep in our federal government and in our local state governments. So our primary objective is to make sure that authoritarianism doesn't take root and run roughshod over the American Constitution.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that. But do you run that equally on both sides?
Yes, we do. We hold the Democrats as much accountable as we do the Republicans. Unfortunately, right now the Democrats aren't in power, so they're not really a target because there's not a heck of a lot they're doing. But the truth of the matter is their behavior over the last couple of decades has enabled this thing to happen. The shilling for American corporations and putting profits of big business over the working class has allowed for this kind of stuff to happen. They approved, whether or not they fought it or not, or fought it hard enough. There's a handful of Democrats and Republicans who have, over the years, tried to protect the working class, and that seems to have gone completely by the wayside. Yeah. The Democrats are not guiltless in any of this kind of nonsense.
No,
they have done as much. There were plenty of shit that Obama and Biden pulled that was inappropriate and unacceptable.
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Totally. That's actually one of the most fair takes that I've heard somebody give.
Yeah, well, Idaho, we're nonpartisan. We're not apolitical, but we are nonpartisan. Our group does tend to swing left on mostly social issues because we feel very strongly that the freedom of the American people is a paramount and a paragon of the American values and the American culture, right? And free to be who you are, and the government shouldn't be telling anybody.
As a small L libertarian, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm very socially liberal and I'm very fiscally conservative.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the government should be involved in pretty much anything. Honestly, I don't even believe that the government should be involved in marriage. I think that marriage in general should just be an institution that's involved with the church.
I don't disagree with that on principle, but the fact of the matter is that because marriage is a thing that the government is involved in, it needs to be applied equally to everyone.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying I just don't think that it should be involved.
I've known several libertarians who also take that stance, and I don't necessarily think that is wrong.
Yeah, why? Like, so that we can be taxed different?
Yeah, there are benefits in the tax code to being married, for sure, which was one of the primary impetus for gay marriage to be legalized, because you're providing tax benefits to people
I also don't believe in taxes.
Yeah. I do believe in taxes because we live in a society in which the streets have to be paved, the police force has to be paid, the fire department needs to be able to be called.
Absolutely.
I believe in those things. I want my taxes to go to those things. I don't want my taxes to continue to fund a military-industrial complex that continues to meddle and fuck around in the Middle East and in Central and South America, doing Iran-Contra deals, left, right, and center, and which, by the way, that was something that the Democrats did. It was kind of the leading charge on that. Bush Sr. started it, but Clinton definitely continued it. And Obama did some shady shit over there, too. I don't want us involved in that. I don't think sending our troops to the Middle East every time there's a Republican president is a good idea.
Obama sent fucking drones to fucking bomb American citizens.
Exactly. And that's totally inappropriate and unacceptable behavior on both sides of the aisle. There's nobody here is claiming that the Democrats are completely innocent. I will say that the lion's share of the problems that we're currently seeing rest on the Republicans because they have capitulated all of their value system. There is nothing about the current regime that speaks to Republican values. Not a damn thing. They've raised taxes on the middle and the working class. They've cut taxes on the ultra wealthy, which is not going to work on anybody's half. They've had 50 years to prove that Reaganomics can work, and it hasn't fucking worked. All that's done has happened is our deficit has continued to climb, and our working class and our middle class has continued to disappear and decline.
I'm a proponent of flat tax.
I think at least a flat tax would be somewhat fair or equitable. It wouldn't be fair, but it would be equitable.
See, the problem is that, if I jump from $1,200 on my check to $1,400 on my check,
it doesn't matter, right? Because most of that disappears in taxes.
Exactly. I actually see more of it
gone. That's not going to be true as soon as the new tax billionaire bill gets put through and it goes into effect.
If I'm making billions of dollars, then
and also the taxes for the lowest economic bracket, which is $20,000 and below, are going to be going up 75% under this new bill. So if you're, while granted, they're still paying a smaller percentage of their income than someone like me might be paying, they're still going to see a 75% jump. So if you make less than $20,000 a year, a 75% jump in your taxes, that's a significant amount of money at that tax bracket. So that's the big problem. Like, the primary problem is this unequitable treatment from the government, and the Republicans seem to be leading the charge on this. They're allowing billionaires to get complete tax breaks. They're allowing it's Reaganomics, and it started with it. Well, it didn't start with Reagan. It's trickle down economics, which started with Reagan, right? It came into thing with Reagan, and it has been continued. Like, let's be real. Clinton balanced the budget, but Clinton was really just a Democrat masquerading, a Republican masquerading as a Democrat. Most of his fiscal policies were Republican. But he did a good job with it, and he managed to get us into a budget.
Nowadays,
yeah,
it would be considered Republican.
It would be considered a Republican.
But back then, it was considered.
Even back then, it was still a very conservative platform. And it still wasn't a traditional Republican platform in the sense of what we would have seen from an Eisenhower Republican, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not opposed to taxes, and if my taxes need to go up because the cost of living is going up, fine. I don't want it to go to the military-industrial complex. I don't want it to go to a budget of ICE that's larger than six countries. And I don't want it to go to things that are going to continuously not benefit the actual American people.
I think maybe we need to isolate some age demographics here.
Sure, let's go ahead.
So I'm 37.
Okay, I'm 40.
You're 40?
Yeah, I'm a dyed in the wool millennial.
So we're right around the same age.
Yeah.
So I remember the Berlin Wall fall.
I do too. I have memories of watching that on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we grew up in a time period where things, when we were young, were very prosperous, and we saw a lot of change.
Yeah.
Happen.
Yeah.
And now we're in a point in time where things are starting to tighten back up.
Are they?
I think so.
I mean, I don't feel like our country's more secure. I don't feel like our country's more prosperous. I definitely feel like we have a serious problem with the deficit. I don't disagree with the regime on that. We have a problem with the deficit, but I happen to have been someone who has to live up by a budget, right? Like my husband and I, we do all right. We're fair. We'll survive. We'll be okay.
I'm homeless.
But we have the budget, right? We have to be really smart with our money. We can't just spend willy-nilly. And I can tell you, as someone who actually has to do a budget, which I guarantee you, Senator Risch, who is worth $42 million, has not lived by a budget for decades.
No.
Right? I, as someone who has to live by a budget, I do understand that if I wish to lower my debt and erase my debt, I can't lower my revenue at the same time.
Yeah, no.
I have to increase my revenue.
This is something that I actually talked about with the lady earlier. Is that I personally believe that all government employees should be on minimum wage.
I think personally that, like, government employees, like, it depends on how you define a government employee. I feel like if you are in a governmental office and in a position of leadership, your budget should be reflective of what your state's average income is.
Minimum wage.
I don't disagree. Like, well, look, I mean, that's a really fast way to raise minimum wage, right? They're going to raise minimum wage really quick if they have to live off the minimum wage. But if we did something, let's say if you're going to serve in the United States Senate.
And I believe that, like Nancy Pelosi, who's done insider trading, prison, flat out.
I don't disagree. I think insider trading needs to end. I'm going to say that Nancy Pelosi has never done insider trading.
No, she has.
She's never been pulled up for the SEC. She has. Her husband works in that environment. Now,
okay,
I'm going to say her husband has done the money. Let's be fair.
That's a real.
Let's call a spade a spade. Let's call a spade a spade. I guarantee you that if she had done any actual, and I'm not saying that she hasn't, they just haven't, nothing that we can substantially prove. I don't believe in running on conspiracy theories. I don't believe in being like, because X, Y, and Z. Now, if you want to apply those metrics, then you need to look at,
and she's running the policy.
Yeah. However, she also has championed a bill to outlaw stock trading for Congress people. So, I mean, clearly, I mean, maybe it's because she got her nut. I don't know. I don't like Nancy
because
Pelosi
she's not the one that's doing it. It's her husband.
Don't particularly like Nancy
Pelosi. It's a tight
but
reference.
let's talk about that. Let's extend that into how much Trump and the Trump family have enriched themselves off the presidency in the last year and a half, or the last 5 years, up to the tune of $2.6 billion, dude.
I don't
Personally
agree with that either.
made off of doing things. Now let's take a look at what's been happening with the stock market
But
and all of the tariffs.
Has it been stock market trading?
It's been crypto trading, which
Been
is
crypto
becoming
trading?
yes. So they just money laundered a whole bunch of their crypto coin
and
from
I'm-
Trump Media, which is worth nothing, by the
Oh,
way.
yeah, I know.
They laundered it through Bitcoin. They've laundered it through Bitcoin, and I just read a huge article on it, listened to a really interesting interview on it. It's money laundering is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call a spade a spade. They're money laundering. So they're taking things that it's almost an MLM scheme.
I've done crypto trading.
But they're taking something that's basically an MLM scheme because their crypto coin is actually worth nothing.
$2,000 into $2,500.
Okay, but we're not talking $2 billion. Like
Exactly.
it's like the difference between
Small
someone
beans.
who steals a soda pop from the gas station versus someone who walks out with a priceless artifact from a museum. There's a slight is stealing. Should we steal? Probably not. Is the soda pop equivalent of stealing $1 million priceless artifact? I don't think so. In reality,
I don't think that it's stealing.
I don't think crypto in of itself. I think it's shady as fuck, and I think it's an MLM scheme. But if you can get
I wouldn't say it's an MLM scheme.
I'd say it's an MLM scheme because you're not trading anything that's of actual substance.
Yeah,
it's not even an MLM. It's a Ponzi scheme.
There's no actual tangible value.
There's no tangible value. So that's a Ponzi scheme.
The only tangible value to it is the electricity that it takes to trade.
Yeah, and that's a Ponzi scheme. That's Bernie Madoff on steroids. And I don't know why it's being legitimized. Well, I do know why it's being legitimized because there's a lot of people who can take advantage of that and take advantage of people who want to invest a few $100s, and then you times that by 300 people, well then suddenly we've got thousands of dollars. Those people are going to lose, but the people at the top are going to win. It's a Ponzi scheme, is what it really is. But let's talk about that. Like I think all senators and anyone who serves in America in an elected office has to freeze all of their assets. Just right where they are. You don't have to divest your assets. You can keep your 401ks invested or whatever, but you're not allowed to touch them until you're out of office. Once you're out of office, you can have to touch them. Like, let's play fair is fair. The problem with what we are witnessing is that currently the oligarchs, the billionaire class, the ultra wealthy have convinced this country that if you just give us more, we'll somehow give you more. And that's not how it fucking works. Trickle-down economics doesn't work. None of that shit works. So now we have a regime that's currently in place, in office, that is actively destroying the working class. They're busting up unions, which unions are here to protect you. Unions are here to give you a voice against the oligarchs.
But I don't agree with that either.
I do. I'm very pro union. It's the only way. If you want to fight a CEO, the only option you have to actually combat a CEO when you only make $30,000 a year is to have the union backing. Now, I don't think you necessarily have to join a union. If you don't want to join a union, it's fine.
Because I've dealt with it.
Yeah. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. There's no problems.
End up becoming very politicized themselves.
Oh, I agree. So the way to fix that is to start doing regulation on them, right? Like the AFL-CIO works in a regulatory capacity to ensure that the unions aren't acting as teamsters, right?
Yeah.
So I think if we just regulate that shit, then we have problem solved, right? The unions can't do shady fucking shit. They shouldn't be doing shady shit. Anyone who's doing shady shit needs to be gone. Yeah. That's not how it's going to run. Our government's not going to run that way. Our government should not be running that way, right? There should be no profit margin. Why is it that Senator Risch, who's an Idaho senator, has a net worth of over $42 million. He is considered one of the top 5 richest congressmen in Congress. He's 80 billion years old. He's 80 plus years old. Jim Risch. He's corrupt as shit, don't get me wrong. But he has a net worth of $42 million and he's still in Congress using Congress as a means to enrich himself. And currently as a retirement plan. Why do senators get lifetime health care but they're going to cut Medicaid benefits for other people who need it? Who are working people who can't afford, no one. I think Medicaid should be for all. My taxes should be paying for health care for everyone. So
I don't disagree with
no family should go broke trying to treat cancer for their child, right? Ever. That should just be a given.
Yeah.
That no one should go broke trying to fight cancer. No one should go broke because their dad had a stroke and needs multiple surgeries and a long-term hospital stay to recover. That should never happen,
Yeah,
especially in the richest country in the
I'm
world.
not,
but
I'm
that's
not
what our
into-
taxes should be paying for.
Exactly.
And also, by the
That's
way,
what I agree.
in case you guys didn't know, Medicaid for all is significantly cheaper than private insurance. It would be like $40 a month on your taxes versus what I currently pay for my health care for my husband and I is like $160 a month out of his paycheck comes to pay for our health care.
Yeah.
So $80 a month, way fucking cheaper for better coverage. It's pretty good coverage. Medicaid
Is it gonna be though? Like once
well,
we
not when they
throw
privatize
everybody
it. No, but that's the whole point. Once you throw everything on it,
mean,
do you
if
know
you look
why?
at-
Do you know why your health insurance costs your employer money and you money to have you on it? It's because that creates what we call collective bargaining.
Yeah.
So once your employer is collectively bargaining with the insurance company, so once everyone is able to get onto Medicaid for all,
everybody gets to
we-
fucking take a cut of the fucking
we
money.
have collective bargaining, which allows prices to go down, right? Because the biggest source of income for these insurance companies like United Health and Blue Cross and all of those motherfuckers is going to be Medicaid, right? Contracts, which by the way is also the largest source for United Health income anyways. By the way, United Health been investigated multiple times for Medicaid fraud. You want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
where it is. It's in privatization of public services, right?
No, I don't.
That's when we start to
I
see
do
those.
not disagree with you on
That's
that
when
at
we
all.
start to see corruption arrive. That's when we start to see fraud in Medicaid,
And
etc.
that's why I don't like the
But-
Medicaid system.
But Medicaid is not the one committing the fraud. It's the people who are privatized insurance that are
Driving
subcontracted
up the
through
price
Medicaid.
because they-
Yep.
they know that
driving
they
up
can-
the price
they
and
know
double
that they
billing
can-
and doing all of that because they
exactly.
can.
Double bill. They can,
Yep,
They can,
they
drive the
can
fucking
do that
price up.
because the
It's
government,
government.
rather than taking responsibility and managing that shit themselves and hiring people to manage it
just
themselves,
pay it.
they privatize it out. So
They
what
say,
they're
"Oh, yeah, here
currently
you go, here
doing,
you
what
go."
the regime is currently doing is trying to privatize everything so that American citizens can pay more for less quality services,
You
right?
sound a lot more Republican than you sound Democrat.
I am not a Democrat. That's why.
Okay.
I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm a left-leaning independent, and I always have been
See,
my
I'm
entire
a
life.
slightly right-leaning.
Yeah, but I own guns, and I'm probably a better shot than most of your listeners.
That's
I'm
probably
I'm in the 97th percentile on an accuracy set. Like my FAFSA scores were incredible.
Really?
Yeah, they tried to recruit me for a really long time, but I'm a fucking queer, so that threw a wrench in that. But I'm telling you that like the reality of it is most of us aren't either Democrat or Republican, right? Most of us are somewhere in the middle, and we have some Republican values and some Democratic values.
Yeah.
Currently, the regime and policies and the policies being put forth for Congress don't have Republican values. They're not prioritizing working people. They're not prioritizing, their professed values, excuse me. I've been known for about 30 years. It's a lie. But let's continue. We'll pretend that it's not a lie and pretend that they actually believe in lowering the deficit. So then they pass a bill that's going to exponentially raise it.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be for the working class, but then they pass a bill that's going to punish the working class for being working class and take away services and benefits that help the working class. Like, I can tell you families that are working class that are on Medicaid because they have members of their family who are sick and they need that financial benefit because otherwise they're going to end up destitute, right? Like people who have children with disabilities or adult loved ones who have, become disabled through accident or illness, and now somebody else in their family needs to take care of them. Well, now their Medicaid benefits are being cut, and that hurts those families from staying afloat and maintaining even a modicum of a middle class lifestyle that is through no fault of their own going to be cut. 38% of this state is on SNAP benefits. The majority of those people are children and senior citizens. That's a fucking problem, right? Our senior citizens get so little safety net in the terms of Social Security that they need SNAP benefits just to eat so they're not living off of cat food. Unconscionable in the richest country in the world. Why aren't we taking care of these people? Many of those seniors, by the way, are veterans. Now, let's go down to the fact that they're cutting benefits to the VA, right?
But we're sending money to
Israel, which is fucking
Israel and
stupid.
Ukraine.
We should be sending money to Ukraine. We have a vested interest in that. Would you like to know why?
Because
In 1933, Hitler invaded Poland. Maybe it was 33. It might have been a little bit later than that. Excuse me. Don't quote me. Somewhere in the 30s. He invaded Poland, and all of the biggest, most powerful countries in the world met with Hitler and said, hey, dude, you can't just invade a sovereign country. That's bad. We just got over World War I. We're not going to do that. And Hitler said, he looked him dead in the eye, shook their hands, and said, I just want Poland. It's an historical land of Germany. It's part of the Deutschmark, right? It's just our historical lands. We have a right to it.
And then he continued.
And then he continued to go forward. So, Russia in 2014 invaded Crimea, which was considered a territory of Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Now, mind you, like we tend to think of European countries as being fairly small. Ukraine is the size of Texas.
Historically,
Crimea,
yes, it was
a territory of Ukraine under Ukraine leadership.
It was the capital.
It would be like someone invading Puerto Rico. Okay, if somebody invaded Puerto Rico, that is considered a hostile act against the United States. During all of that, Obama, which was a fucking mistake, don't get me wrong, I liked Obama a lot as a president. I think he was a really effective president, but he did shit I disagreed with, and this was one of them. Instead of telling Russia, pack up your bags and go the fuck home, you megalomaniac motherfucker, Putin, instead, he said, well, if you leave it at Crimea, we'll let it go, and we won't enforce it. Well, fast forward 9 years, guess who's got troops assembling on the border of Ukraine? Russia invaded Ukraine. Now, we're going to go back to the 1980s during when the USSR was all busting up. Remember, we watched the wall come down, right? When that was happening, the USSR was disbanding. Ukraine was told, Ukraine had the largest stash of nuclear weapons in the fucking world. Ukraine signed on to the Budapest Agreement. Now, the Budapest Agreement allowed for Ukraine to give up all of it, said you give up all of your weapons, all of your nukes, and we'll protect you should you get invaded from Russia in the future. And Russia even signed it. Russia said, we won't do that if you give up your nukes, because they didn't want the nuclear power right next door. Yeah. They were like, okay, if you do that, we won't do it. We'll leave it alone. So Russia, the United States, and most of like what the UK, I think was another big signatory, and then it might have been France, on there, all signed on the Budapest Agreement, and they said, okay, Ukraine, you give up your nukes, because they had the largest stash in the fucking world of them. We will guarantee you protection. Should someone decide to do something shady to Ukraine, Russia invade you, Latvia invade you, Estonia decide to start some shit, we'll come to your aid and we'll stand with you and we'll be like, hey motherfucker, you can't do that, this is our friend, right? We signed that agreement so that Ukraine would basically abdicate their ability to defend themselves.
Yeah, but part of that agreement was also that they couldn't join NATO.
Right. Now, they were making overtures about, like, maybe we want to join NATO, but those didn't actually start until Russia started assembling troops on the border. Then they were like, hey, what about NATO? Now, it was never a serious consideration. You ask any of the NATO countries, they were like, we weren't going to allow them to do it because it does violate the Budapest Agreement, right? We weren't going to allow them to do it, but Ukraine was trying to do these overtures. Ukraine has made huge steps in the last, 30, 40 years. They've really revitalized their country. They've become a real power. So Ukraine has some very important minerals that we need, especially as an increasingly technological society, right? So there were some benefits for them joining NATO, some trade deals and things like that. So there were talks and things like that. But Russia was already assembling troops on the border. Now Russia said, well, we're just doing training exercises, and then they invaded. So we have a moral obligation, both in terms of stopping a dictator.
They also want.
They want, that's why they invaded Ukraine. And their justification is the same justification Hitler used to invade Poland, right? It's our ancestral land. It should belong to us. Now, keep this in mind. Putin says the same fucking thing about Alaska. He says the same thing about Alaska that he says about Ukraine. That it should be Russian. It's supposed to be Russian. It's historically Russian. So keep in mind all of that when you watch the videos of what Trump did to roll out the red carpet and do a great honoring display of a man who can't step foot in many European countries because he's wanted on war crimes, for yeeting people out of the buildings, for killing and targeting journalists, and doing things like that, which are in violation of the Geneva Convention, right? Yeah. So Russia has been as the bad actor here. Russia invades Ukraine. We have a moral obligation, both because of our treaty and because he's not going to stop Ukraine. Come on. He's a despot. He's a country that's failing. His economy is on the verge of crumbling. If you watch any sort of BBC News coverage of it, our news is fucking bullshit. They won't cover it. They won't talk about it. He's lost over 1 million soldiers.
I'm not gonna lie
he's
here.
Basically, well, that's why I write my paper that I write.
I'm much more on the side of we should actually just overthrow.
Yeah, well, Putin's a fucking dictator, right? He's a despot dictator. He's a terrible human. That's why there's been sanctions. Obama went in and said, okay, if you just take Crimea, we're going to put some sanctions on you. We're going to stop trade with you, but we're not going to actively go to war, and we're not going to consider, because it wasn't Ukraine, we can't.
I'm not big on China or Russia.
And that's why we have to stop them. That's why we are supporting Ukraine. Okay, I don't love the idea of sending money over.
I don't like the way that it's being done right now. Like, it costs too much money.
Well, yeah, war does cost money. Putin could end the war tomorrow. Now, the reason that the war isn't going to end tomorrow is because in order
We
to
could
do
end the
that,
war tomorrow.
we could. We don't want to get into that conflict. Russia is really not that far from Alaska. It's quite literally like.
We've got enough fucking nuke subs to fucking take care of that problem.
So do they. In fact, we're not even 100% sure we know how many they do have. I'd have to do some BBC. But the Five Eyes aren't sharing intel with us anymore. Not freely, because of the way we're behaving with Russia, because of the way we're behaving with our security. Now, we know that there have been multiple Russian attacks on our national security level, right? So let's talk about why we don't feel secure with Trump as a president. First of all, he chickens out about everything. He can't make up his mind. He puts bullshit tariffs on countries that we have a trade surplus with. Why do we have tariffs on Brazil? Like, we have a trade surplus with them. They buy way more shit from us than we buy from them. So why do we have tariffs with them? Why? Because Trump is an idiot and doesn't know what he's doing.
I'm not opposed to the tariffs.
I am opposed to the tariffs. That's a tax, my friend. That's a tax
on other countries.
No, it's a tax on us. You want to know how that works out?
Because the products that they send here, they end up having to
raise the price. It becomes a tax on the American people. A tax, by the way, that no one voted for and no one in Congress approved.
We're already paying a shitload. And the amount of money that we already pay, like, to China for goods, they don't pay to their citizens.
Well, I don't disagree with that. But the solution to that is to engage in fair trade practices and make fair trade practices financially incentivized for large businesses. Totally down with that. Let's do it.
No, I'm totally in agreement with that, but we don't live in a perfect world.
Where did my puppy go? Okay. I do actually have to cut this off.
Where your dog is?
No, I actually have to go home. I have to go to work. Excuse me.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that tariffs applied strategically can benefit the American people. Tariffs applied the way they have been applied don't benefit the American people. And if you're anti-tax as a libertarian, you have to acknowledge that a tariff is a tax. And in this case, it's a tax that wasn't even voted upon. This is a tax that wasn't approved by Congress, which is supposed to be operating essentially as an extension of their constituents, Congress has failed at a lot of things. They've abdicated their power at 100%. They've abdicated their power. And the Democrats are not blameless in that, in the sense that when in power, the Democrats have been historically unwilling to exercise any sort of force and push things like, let's end gerrymandering. We said we wanted to end gerrymandering, then fucking do it. Fucking do it. If you want to stop the president from having the power to do this, then fucking do it. Don't go like, well, they don't buy in, so we can't do it. Not, clearly you can just do whatever the fuck you want.
And that's what they like. That's the problem.
Well, because what many of them want is to enrich themselves.
Both sides.
Yeah, that is the problem. I fully believe.
Both sides.
I fully believe that Congress needs term limits. It's not a retirement plan. Once you reach a certain age limit, dude, you're out. Like, you're done. 79-year-old, 80-year-old, 82-year-old men, white men, should not be making decisions for people that are going to have to survive it for 50 years. I do. I don't think it has to do with white either. I'm just a little bit pissed about the lack of representation and the cross-sectionality of the diverse demographics of the United States are not replicated in Congress.
I don't really honestly care about that.
I do.
It's merit. To me,
merit, I think,
qualified.
When Pete Hegseth sits in office as a multiple DUI, sexual abuser, a domestic violence assaulter, liar, he's not. We're not talking about merit. I believe that if meritocracy was a thing that could actually exist, absolutely 110%. But it cannot, because we live in a culture of white supremacy. And when you start reading and looking into that,
I don't believe that. I really don't believe. I'm homeless and I'm a white male.
I know, but I 100% need you to look into that idea. Because you will have your eyes open.
I get treated like shit, and I get shit on because I'm a fucking white male. But I'm fucking homeless.
Nobody's shitting on you because you're a white man.
No, I totally get shit on because I'm a fucking white man.
No, you do not.
All the fucking time.
I'm sorry. Okay, this is a fundamental flaw with this level of thinking. Because it's surface level, right? You assume that the experience that you are currently having is the experience that is experienced systematically. That is not how that works. That's not how it rolls out, right? And when we start digging into that, when we start looking into those things...
individualism rather than collective.
Well, we don't live in that world. We don't live in an individualistic society. We do not, my friend.
Do.
The roads we drive on, the places we call, the power we rely on, the clean water that we drink, all of that is not individualistic.
We all have to pay for as individuals. individuals.
No, but we do not live in an individualistic society. When anyone tells you that they believe that, like, oh, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, it's a fucking lie. It's a straight up lie because they did not look at all the systems and the things that allowed them to help themselves. Now, I'm not just devaluing your personal experiences.
So why don't I have an apartment, and why?
Why don't you? Because fucking oligarchs take everything and they don't allow for systems to be in place to help you. Because they don't want systems in place to help you because it might undercut their profit margins.
I'm still a white, cisgendered male.
Right. You still have the right to get married. You still have the right to do a lot of other things, that trans people don't exist, that women don't exist. They don't have a right to bodily autonomy. Name one state in this nation where the laws would apply to your body.
My brother's trans.
To no one else in any other state.
You know
your body autonomy is
guaranteed
across the United States.
My brother took my stepdaughter's name, and when I approached him about it, he went to the fucking court and got a fucking protective order against me because I asked him to fucking not have my stepdaughter's name.
Her.
Him.
Her. Trans woman is man to female.
I don't give a fuck.
She's taking her.
No, that
it's
doesn't
a basic
matter.
level of
no,
respect.
It's
a basic level of respect.
No respect for transgender people.
Okay, well, we're done
at
here.
all.
You are not an American citizen, clearly. You're not a libertarian. That's not even a libertarian
I am
value.
a libertarian.
A libertarian, a true libertarian, would believe in the free expression
They have
of anybody.
They have the right to believe whatever they want. I don't need to be forced into believing what somebody else wants me to. That's the difference.
No, dude, man, that's just a basic last of human decency. That's just being a terrible human.
I'm
really.
not a terrible
and
human.
a terrible American. That's not an American
All right.
that exists.
You have a
Everyone
fantastic
should have a right
day.
to free